2026 Dolphin season. I'm interested, what that's going to be.
You want to get some of the Quinn Ewers experience going there, you think, maybe?
Give me any name you want.
Right.
I mean, it's not egregious that they would release Tyreek Hill. Everybody expected that. And, in fact, Tyreek Hill himself has been begging for it, it seems, at least publicly.
And he's coming off a pretty devastating injury.
Yeah, the Dolphins are going to do it right. Well, the plan is, anyway. I don't know how it's going to end.
They've taken an effective first step.
Who needs to do what they've been doing again in the Josh Allen world, or even the Drake May world now? Mm-hmm. Maybe May is they fired their GM, then they eventually fired their head coach. It might not even matter what else is happening in the AFC East to the Dolphins, but, what would their odds be to do anything? Over, under, what do you want? 7.5? If Tua played,
if they kept going,
and Tyreek Hill were on the team, and Waddle is still there. It'd be funny if Bean were calling on Waddle today. But if you ran back the same Bradley Chubb, if you ran back the same team in this AFC East, under 7.5. What's the best case scenario? It's not that different than it was last year when we didn't have a Drake May MVP caliber season.
Right.
And Tyreek Hill hadn't had the injury, but he still, remember the year before, ends with him screaming on the sideline about wanting to leave in that game against the Jets. So it's not that different. This is what you have to do, I think. Mm-hmm. And, who is the quarterback? Quinn Ewers? Someone else? I don't even know if it matters.
They shouldn't care. I really think they shouldn't care.
Well, what's the conversation, though?
Probably too strong, but you know what I mean.
Well, what is the reason? How do they decide who they decide on? Is it about optics? Is it about development? What is it about? What would the Dolphins tell each other, whether this comes from ownership or the owner's proxy, where he's sort of representing, we have to take a step back. What they can do that is probably good for them is that they don't have a coach who's been around or a GM. They're starting over at coach and GM like the Bills did.
Yeah, there's no need. He better win now or else.
The Bills did this with McDermott, and then Bean came in later that offseason. This is 9 years ago now. And what did they do? They decided to push off drafting a quarterback, which the Dolphins probably will do. It's a different year. That year, that's Mahomes and Watson. You had first-round caliber options. But Miami will not this year. But they can – it's easier this way. Look, Allen is great, but they could have had Mahomes, and that's always kind of been an interesting talking point anyway. The Dolphins don't have that distraction. They can just
no, their objective should be to plug somebody in, a quarterback in, and lose as many games as they can without having it look like they're doing it on purpose.
And even if
that's
it does look like it, what is that even worth anymore?
It doesn't really matter.
This is the big...
People will say it, but they don't have to care.
No, they don't. This is the big topic in the NBA. Tanking isn't going away until these leagues figure out ways to de-incentivize losing. And they have not done that yet, whether you have a lottery or not. This is a thin year in the draft for quarterback. Miami doesn't care. When do they pick? I don't even know. 10th? Something like that? 9th? I don't even know. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect them. There's no second or third guy, it seems so far, that would go there. So all the same to them. It's easier for them to sort of get away with it, push it off a year, and, see what next year looks like. And maybe in 2026, they'll be the worst team in football. Very possible, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I want to do with Achane in a fantasy context for this, or Waddle. But I think that's the writing on the wall with Miami.
Yeah, well,
and they have a new coach and GM, like I started to say.
Right.
And that this affords them, they can't lose. I don't think the coach and GM can lose this way because losing is the point.
Right.
And they won't look bad. I don't know if Aaron Glenn is a usable comparison for this, but the Jets weren't trying to tank, actually.
No,
they
I don't
brought
think
him
so.
in for credibility. They went with Justin Fields, and that went so far south that they just bailed on that. I don't know. I think Miami is probably looking at a very long year, which they probably should want.
Just put your head down and try to get through it. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You mentioned, would it be, I don't know what word you used just now, talking about trying to trade for Jalen Waddle. But, the sticking point reportedly about that back in October was that the Bills wanted to give Miami, as their principal return in the trade, a first-round pick for the 2027 draft, and Miami wanted it for this year. Well, new people in place wouldn't, if we're correct about assessing the situation that they find themselves in, plug some dude in, Quinn Ewers or someone else, get through the year, you're almost definitely going to lose a lot. Wouldn't an extra, this is the Bills in 2018, wouldn't an extra 2027 first-round pick come in pretty handy? If that is going to be your year, right? We can assume whatever kind of record you may have a great draft pick no matter what, because you're going to be so bad. But having an extra one could afford you the opportunity. If you're drafting fifth, maybe you can get to one with the fifth pick and the.
I want to hear this number.
20-something pick.
Oh,
I'm gonna go.
You
with
left it in the 20s.
The 20-something pick.
So it's not a Super Bowl year.
I don't. Yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
That should help them. So maybe you can re-engage there. I don't know. It's just a thought that came to mind thinking about that hang up on that reported trade.
That's right.
So you see, Bean wanted to help them. He already knew where they were gonna end up. He was trying to help them by offering 27, not 26.
Apologies in advance, because this is a fantasy point, and not every player in the NFL draft is a skill position player that gives you fantasy points. But everybody for months has preferred the 27s to the 26s.
Yes.
So whether that's quarterback, especially if it's quarterback.
Which is what I thought was weird. That was around back when this trade was talked about. And that's why I think I even said then, isn't it being widely talked about that the 27 draft is better? Mm-hmm. You'd rather have an extra there, and Miami balked and whatever. It never really made sense. But anyway, they're just scorched earth at this point.
And that has not happened, has it? I mean, the Dolphins had the 1 year with Flores and Fitzpatrick where they started, they were 0-10 maybe or something like that. But they pulled it together. And that might have been the year where they beat New England in the final week at Foxborough with Brady. And they just didn't end up picking that high, if I remember right. But, I think Miami is probably setting up for that kind of season. Well, that's one side of it. Tyreek Hill, unless you want to talk about tomorrow's free agent idea of the day today, that'd be Nick Westbrook-Akine. Tyreek Hill on the market. You have said, I don't want him anywhere near the Bills. I don't want to talk about it. I think this is like a complete non-starter.
I'll talk about anything. I'm going to be hard to convince that that's a good idea.
If he didn't have the off-the-field baggage, would you want to do it?
Yeah, it's almost entirely about bringing what I think is widely considered to be an awful human being onto your team. And I don't know, you can tell me I should get over that.
Well, Travis Henry did just get a pardon from the president.
Not necessarily you.
So I don't think you have to care about this out there.
I guess I choose to.
I feel like Tyreek Hill will get pardoned someday.
Yeah.
I would bet that plus.
And I think there's also his age and the injury he's coming off of are, I think, valid concerns at the very least, if not flat-out reasons to not be interested in the market. If you even want to put my concerns about the level of human being he appears to be over there for now, which, in football conversations, sometimes you need to do that. I think there's even on the field, what should you be expecting at his age with that injury? It was a dislocated knee and torn ligament. So whatever, he'll play again, I assume. But what am I getting? His chief asset is speed.
Chief,
that's no coincidence there. That's his thing. That's what he has made his bones in the league on, is being elite as far as speed goes. And having a significant leg injury could be a problem.
It could.
So I'm not ready to assume he's going to be what he's been. And then there's then I can, I put character over there for now. Now, if I want to bring it back as a final exclamation point on no thanks, that's pretty much where I am.
I don't want him either.
I want to do better at receiver. I want to be younger and not have questions about whether a guy's going to come back from his injury or not.
Well, you could do both. I don't know if you can get Tyreek Hill. Even at 32 off that injury, will Kansas City not want him? Will other teams maybe just be able to outdo the Bills if the Bills wanted him in the first place? But you could do both things. I think the Bills maybe should want to. Whereas one from column A, one from column B. You're going to go into free agency for some fit at that position. And why wouldn't we start the week on this subject, by the way? I mean, obviously. So you would want to fill one hole if you can at some price point in free agency, and then the draft is the next, maybe even more important thing for this. And, that's probably what's called for, I think, is you go into next year with two new assets.
At least. Yeah.
At least.
Maybe even three. But, yeah, no, I agree with that.
As long as it's not Tyreek Hill.
And one of those could be some form of a dart throw reclamation, Chase Claypool level. I'm not saying him specifically, but I think you understand what I mean.
He might be available.
Hope our audience does. I saw a video of him working out. I think he's raising his hand like, hey, I'm ready to try again.
You did?
Yeah.
When?
Last week.
Really?
Yeah. So, it wasn't.
Are you following him?
He didn't know. It just, it's crap just shows
Field
up
Yates?
in your feed. I don't know where it came from.
Probably somebody from Canada.
It did show Mapletron. It did show up. So, that level of, I'm not against trying some more of that. But to me, you just better have a better idea than 32-year-old Tyreek Hill coming off of severe knee injuries.
Well, the question is, what is that idea?
Yeah.
Because free agency is not rich this year. So you don't have a 28-year-old version of Tyreek Hill, even if that's $30 million a year. That's not out there. I don't know what's out there that's that interesting. But it's always, in my mind, two questions at once, which is, first, would the Bills want to invest at that position? Because they've kind of only done it in half measures, mostly, especially in free agency. Diggs was a big move. That's 2020, so that's 6 years ago almost now. But they've kind of done it in half measures. Claypool, no offense to him. And then there's that move, and then there's the draft aspect of it. And I think you'd have to admit, I know you would say this, that's not their only position of need in this draft. I mean, they are at a little bit of a low point in roster depth, overall talent. And they have a lot of needs. Offensive line, this is new. Last year, we sat around and smoked cigars over how they didn't even need backups. All their backups were coming back, as well as their starters. Right. So, this is easy street. So that's different now. I'm not going to, right yet, push on running back. But I'm going to want to at some point in the next 2 months. Talk about running back as a draft. Last year they didn't do it? Oh, wait a minute. I got it. Last year they were all set at running back. Same guys, right? Mm-hmm. Cook. This is funny to me. Cook, Johnson, Davis. Davis goes and ends up first team All-Pro at kick return, but they never gave him the ball, really. Johnson gets hurt. And then we're in the playoffs, and there's no playing.
Frank Gore Jr.
It's Frank Gore Jr.
Yeah.
You couldn't have used, who do I want to cherry pick with? You couldn't have used
somebody that was picked on a Saturday.
Bashal Tootin or somebody like that. That's fine. You had to have more linebackers or DBs. Where was I? I think, running back, or not running back, wide receiver is a position of need. It's not the only one. And I think it's tougher this year to justify loading up there in the draft than last year. Because last year you didn't really have as many holes,
right.
I think. But what they did last year anyway was go big on defense, and like this is like pushing all their chips in. Really? Wasn't it? I mean, wouldn't you say that?
Yeah.
They pushed all their chips in on defense, and they went down in the playoffs 33-30. That's kind of how it's been most years. Well, Tyreek Hill, and for that matter, Nick Westbrook-Akine, heading to the market.
Well, one of the other big positions of need that they do have is also at another spot that Miami divested themselves of a
Pass rush.
fairly well-known player, and that's Bradley Chubb.
You don't want to do that, though, do you?
I don't think I want to do that.
That's
no.
when it was obvious Miami was drunk.
When they made that trade?
Yes. I think Tyreek Hill, go for it.
Yeah.
You're paying your quarterback. Everybody wants to have two top receivers.
And it worked for them
He led the
well
league.
enough for a while. Like their
Yes.
fastball was Achane, Waddle, Hill, elite speed, good luck covering us.
He had back-to-back 1,700-yard seasons for Miami, and they were in the playoffs both times. Like, it was a valiant effort.
Yep.
But Chubb was when, like, oh, no. That's
Yeah, right.
don't ever do this.
Yeah.
They gave up so much for him.
Yeah.
And did he ever make a difference at all? Did it ever really matter that they had him on their team?
No, I don't think so. There were injuries that largely undid it, but even he was relatively healthy last year, I think. But that's not. Look, almost anybody who he had, I think he had 8.5 sacks and maybe 10 the year before, or the last time he was healthy, whenever that was.
What's Rousseau?
Right. So it's not, to me, don't ever talk to me about it, because at the right price, I might be interested. But I'm going to want to let it sit for a while. Like, I don't need to be running up to the counter going, I've got my Bradley Chubb ticket. I'm ready to talk. Let's just let the dust settle and see what kind of market he has. And if he ends up at a sort of any kind of a prove-it deal, then, I might raise my hand, because they are really nowhere at that position.
The Bills.
Yeah. So I'm not closing the door on it, but it's not an idea that excites me.
I'm just not even sure he was even good, but I'll let other people tell me whether I'm right.